Previously, everything came crashing down. I barely escaped the Minotaur with my life, but my mom, she was gone, taken from me in a flash of golden light. With Grover half carrying me, I stumbled into a place I didn't recognize, a safe haven hidden from the mortal world. That's where I finally collapsed, not knowing if I'd ever wake up again. And when I did, I realized my life was never going to be the same. This is where the truth about who I really was started to unfold. Waking up after nearly being killed by the Minotaur isn't exactly the kind of thing you bounce back from overnight. Trust me, when I came to, I wasn't even sure I was alive. The first thing I remember was the smell, a strange mix of pine trees, salty ocean air, and something warm, like the smell of fresh bread baking. My eyes blinked open slowly, heavy as lead, and the ceiling above me wasn't anything I recognized. It wasn't my room back in the city, it wasn't Yancey Academy, it was a wooden ceiling, rafters crossed with sunlight streaming through, almost like a summer cabin. And then I realized I wasn't home, I wasn't safe. The memories came crashing in all at once. My mom, the storm, the Minotaur, her scream as the monster grabbed her and she disappeared in that golden flash of light. My heart ached just thinking about it. I tried to sit up, but pain ripped through my body like fire. That's when I saw someone leaning over me, a girl about my age with long blonde hair that caught the sunlight, stormy gray eyes that looked sharp enough to cut, and a face that was both serious and, well, a little curious. She tilted her head at me like I was some kind of science project that had gone wrong. "He's the one," she said. "Definitely." I croaked, my throat dry as sandpaper. Where am I?" "You're safe," she answered, her voice calm but carrying this strength underneath it. "For now. Don't move too much. You're lucky to be alive." Then she called out over her shoulder, "He's awake!" Before I could even ask who she was talking to, she slipped out the door. I must have blacked out again, because the next time I woke, it was evening. This time I was stronger, enough to sit up on the cot where I'd been laid. I found myself in what looked like a big cabin, rustic and open, with a pitcher of nectar-colored drink and a plate of food beside me. And outside the open door I could hear laughter, the clatter of hooves. Wait, hooves? And the sound of kids shouting, running around. I thought I was still dreaming. Eventually, the blonde girl came back in with Grover. Only now, Grover wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he wasn't normal. His crutches were gone, and where his legs should have been were two shaggy brown-furred goat legs ending in hooves. I just stared at him, open-mouthed. You're a satyr," I whispered. Grover winced. "Yeah, Percy, I wanted to tell you sooner, but—" He trailed off. "Anyway, you're safe now. Welcome to Camp Half-Blood." Camp what now? That's when I finally learned the truth. Camp Half-Blood, a place for kids like me. Not regular kids, not even close. Kids who are half mortal, half something else, half God. The words hit me like a truck. My dad, the man I'd never known, the one Mom always avoided talking about, he wasn't just some guy who had disappeared. He was a god, which meant I was a demigod. I didn't have much time to process because Grover helped me outside, and what I saw nearly knocked me off my feet. The camp stretched out in a valley ringed by woods and hills, the ocean shimmering not too far off. There were kids running everywhere, dressed in orange t-shirts that said Camp Half-Blood, practicing sword fighting, archery, climbing walls that actually spewed lava. Satyrs darted between cabins, and strange creatures I'd only ever seen in myth books wandered around like it was the most normal thing in the world. It was magical, it was terrifying, and somehow it felt like where I belonged. That night, Grover took me to the big house, this big old farmhouse at the heart of camp. That's where I met him, Mr. Brunner. Or at least the man I thought was Mr. Brunner. Except now, He wasn't in a wheelchair. He wasn't even fully a man. From the waist up, he was still the same Latin teacher I'd known at Yancey, bearded, scholarly, with eyes that seemed to look straight into your soul. But from the waist down, he was a white stallion, strong and tall. Chiron. That was his real name, Chiron, the centaur trainer of heroes. My jaw just about hit the floor. "You've got to be kidding me!" But Chiron only smiled warmly, like he had been waiting for this moment. "Welcome, Percy Jackson. We have much to discuss." He invited me to sit with him to a few others at a table. There was Grover, of course, the blonde girl, whom I learned was named Annabeth, and another man, if you could call him that. He was putty, wearing a leopard print shirt with a Diet Coke in his hand. He looked like a party gone wrong. This was Dionysus, god of wine, though he was stuck running the camp as punishment from Zeus. We sat down for a game of Pinochle, which, by the way, I had absolutely no idea how to play. Chiron explained bits and pieces as we played, but mostly I sat there trying to absorb the fact that I was playing cards with a centaur and a god. Between rounds, they filled me in. Monsters were real. The Greek gods were alive, still ruling from Mount Olympus, now located in New York City at the top of the Empire State Building. And me? I wasn't just some unlucky kid with ADHD and dyslexia. My brain was literally wired for ancient Greek, for battle instincts, because I was half divine. But there was one problem. Nobody knew who my godly parent was. That meant I was undetermined, and until my parent claimed me, I wouldn't really have a cabin, a place, or a true identity here. All I knew was that I was part of a bigger world now, a dangerous one, filled with monsters who wouldn't stop hunting me. Chiron's words echoed in my ears as the night drew on. "You have a destiny, Percy. You may not see it yet, but the threads are already being woven." When I tell people my first few days at Camp Half-Blood were rough, I'm not kidding. Imagine being dropped into a world where every single kid around you knows the rules, knows who their godly parent is, and knows exactly where they belong. And you're the new guy, standing in the middle of the dining hall with clueless practically stamped on your forehead. That was me, Percy Jackson, the undetermined. Now, let me explain how it worked. At camp, everyone had a cabin. There were 12 main ones, arranged in a U-shape around the courtyard, each one built in a style that matched the Olympian god it belonged to. Athena's was elegant and stone gray, Ares was this blood-red war bunker, Demeter's looked like a living greenhouse, and so on. Kids lived in their parents' cabin. But me? I didn't know who my dad was, so I got tossed in the Hermes cabin. Hermes was the god of travelers and thieves, so his cabin doubled as the catch-all spot for all the undetermined kids. And let me tell you, it was crowded. My first night there, I had maybe 2 feet of floor space, sandwiched between some guy snoring like a chainsaw and another who smelled like he hadn't showered in weeks. Trunks, armor, and weapons were stacked in every corner, and the air smelled like a locker room mixed with campfire smoke. The counselor for Cabin 11 was Luke. I'll never forget him. Tall, athletic, with this sandy blonde hair and this easy smile that instantly made you trust him. He looked like the kind of guy who belonged in a hero statue, but he also had this laid-back older brother vibe. He made me feel a little less like an outcast. "Don't worry, kid," he told me, clapping me on the shoulder. "You'll find out who your dad is sooner or later. Until then, Hermes is always happy to take you in. We look out for the lost ones." It sounded comforting, but at the same time, I couldn't help feeling like the lost ones was exactly what I was. The next day, things didn't get much easier. See, Annabeth, the blonde girl with the storm gray eyes, didn't exactly treat me with warmth. She was curious about me, sure, but in the same way a scientist might be curious about a weird bug they found in a jar. Every time she looked at me, I felt like I was being judged. "You drool when you sleep," she told me flatly the first morning. "Great! Just what a guy needs to hear from a girl who looks like she was born holding a sword." She kept pestering me with questions, too. "What's the last thing you remember before coming here? Did you see the fates? Did your mother say anything before—" She stopped herself, but I knew what she meant. It stung. Talking about Mom hurt more than the bruises the Minotaur had left behind. Later that day, Luke gave me a tour of the camp. The strawberry fields, the archery range, the canoe lake, the climbing wall that literally spewed lava. It was incredible. But everywhere I looked, kids were training like warriors. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was totally out of my depth. And then came the bathroom incident. It started with Clarice. She was the daughter of Ares, the war god, and she looked like she could bench press a horse. Broad shoulders, mean eyes, and a permanent scowl. She and her Ares buddies cornered me outside the cabin. "Well, if it isn't the new meat," she sneered. "You're the one who took out the Minotaur? Please, bet you just ran while Mommy saved you." I clenched my fists, but before I could even respond, she and her cronies dragged me into the camp bathrooms. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly where this was going. "Let's give him a swirly," Clarice said with a grin. They shoved my head toward the toilet, and I struggled, kicking and thrashing. But they were strong. My face was inches from the water when something inside me snapped. The water in the pipes, I could feel it, like it was alive, like it was answering me. And then boom! Every toilet in the place exploded. Water blasted out of the bowls, the sinks, even the showers. It hit Clarice and her friends like a tidal wave, soaking them from head to toe, while somehow leaving me completely dry. They staggered back, sputtering, covered in toilet water, while I stood there in shock. What did you do?" Clarice demanded, wiping gunk out of her eyes. I didn't even know how to answer. My heart was pounding. I hadn't touched the faucets, hadn't even moved. But deep down, I knew I had done that. Somehow I'd commanded the water. Before Clarice could lunge at me, Annabeth showed up, her expression a mix of surprise and satisfaction, like something she'd suspected had just been confirmed. "I knew it," she whispered. "Knew what?" I asked. She just smiled faintly and said, "You're the one. We've been waiting for you." Her words gave me chills. The rest of the day, whispers followed me around camp. Some kids looked at me with awe, others with suspicion. Me? I just felt more confused than ever. All I knew was this: I wasn't normal, not even by demigod standards. Something inside me had just revealed itself, and I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a very, very bad thing.